Hello there, my fellow puckheads. The first week of March is over and done with. There are now 33 days left in the regular season, which ends on April 10th. And the races are getting much and much tighter, as shown here on this wonderful NHL app, which is modified to actually look like the website. The standings on the app look like the same ones designs on the website, and of course the Atlantic is getting much tighter. There's a change in the guard. There's a change in the guard recently. Florida is out of first place, and now Tampa Bay has sole possession of first place. They're ahead of Florida and Boston by a single point. I honestly think March will see the Panthers fall off a bit. They're going to fall off a bit. They're already knocked off their perch in the Atlantic. I see them falling down to third place, not the wild card area. They're not going to drop that far. But I see them dropping to third place and having to go on the road against whoever finishes second, either Tampa Bay or Boston. But so far, Tampa does have the lead, but they lost to the Flyers tonight. The Flyers are knocking on that playoff door. As the standings show here, the Flyers are only 2 points out, right behind Detroit for a playoff spot. Washington was the first to 100 this season. They reached the 100-point plateau on Saturday. And they just ended the Ducks' 11-game winning streak. They won 2-1 via shootout. So they have 102 points, and they are. And I did the math on this. The Capitals are actually 5 points away from clinching the playoff spot. 5 points. 5 points is 2 wins and reaching overtime in the third game. But unless Philadelphia loses regulation, that takes 2 right there. So. So expect Washington to officially lock in that spot sometime this week. The New York teams actually played each other on Sunday and had that wild first period where 7 goals total were scored. But in the end, the Islanders won, and the Rangers have a 3-point lead over their crosstown rivals. Because as I said last week, the Rangers and Islanders are basically playing for second place. Second place in the division means home ice in the first round of playoffs at least. The second round if the first place team gets knocked out. So yeah, that's the battle. Rangers, Islanders. It does seem like it's a foregone conclusion that those two teams are going to stay number 2 and number 3 in the Metropolitan Division. I hope that happens. I really want to see New York run into each other. I love these crosstown rivalries. They're great. And in hockey, too? Oh, man. This should be one hell of a series. Pittsburgh and Detroit, they are still the 2 wild cards. Just like they were entering the month. The only difference is Pittsburgh has moved past Detroit. So Pittsburgh's at the number 1 wild card position. If the season ended, there would be a double crossover. The number 1 wild card plays the lower of the 2 division winners, and that's actually Tampa. That at the moment is actually Tampa Bay. So Pittsburgh, would actually cross over to the Atlantic half of the playoffs, while Detroit would be in the metropolitan half. So that's the East. The West. Sadly, the Avalanche fell off just a little bit. That loss to the Minnesota Wild on Tuesday the 1st knocked Colorado out of a playoff position. At this moment, we are still out of a playoff position, even with the win tonight against Arizona. However, it's a tie between the Wild and the Avalanche with 72 points, but Minnesota has a game in hand. That's why they're ahead. They have a game in hand, and Minnesota doesn't play again until Thursday, the 10th. Meanwhile, the Avs' next game is against the Ducks, not here in Denver, on Wednesday. So this is a gold. So Wednesday's a gold opportunity for the Avalanche. a win, even so much as going to overtime, would move us back into a playoff position. And considering there's barely over 30 days left of the season, 30 days is a lot of 30 days is a lot of time, but not a whole lot. A lot can happen in a month, but then there's not much room for improvement in a month's time. So every point the Avalanche are playing for, every point that's available is important. Chicago, Dallas, St. Louis, it's pretty tight. Blackhawks and Stars are tied with 87 points. St. Louis is right behind with 85. That's basically going to be the top three. It all depends on the order, because Nashville is in fourth place and they're behind by 7 points, though anything's possible. But it looks like Chicago, Dallas, and St. Louis, that's going to be the top three. The order is yet to be determined. And the ironic thing about this, since this format started in 2013, Chicago hasn't won a division. Chicago has not won. Has never won the New Look Central Division. Yet both years the Blackhawks went deep. In 2014 they reached the West Finals, and of course last year they won the whole thing. But they never won the Central Division. Never. The Central Division winners were the Avalanche and the Blues, and they were both beaten in the first round in their respective seasons. Moving on to the Pacific, despite the Ducks' win streak, which ended tonight, but it's now like a 12-game point streak, 11 wins and the shootout loss. It's only a 1-point lead over the Kings for first place in the Pacific. The Ducks have a tight lead over the Kings. The Ducks beat the Kings once again this past Saturday. So, but even so, it's still tight. The Sharks, 78 points, and currently hold third place in the Pacific Division, and it looks like they're gonna hold it. It looks like that's definitely gonna be the top three, because Vancouver is way behind. They're in fourth place, but they have 62 points. They are 16 points out of. They're 10 points out of. They're 10 points out of a wild card. They're 16 points out of third place in the Pacific. Top three get in, and with the way the Central is, the Central is stacked with all those good teams, and the wild cards, both wild cards in the West coming from the Central, you need to get to third. Otherwise, you can forget it. But Vancouver and Arizona are tied at 62. Vancouver's fourth and fifth respectively in the Pacific Division, and sorry, I'm a little bit exhausted. It was an exciting bit of hockey action this past that just happened hours ago. But yeah, that's pretty much the story. That's pretty much the story so far. No teams have officially been eliminated yet. Toronto is definitely close to being officially out. They're basically out now, but it's not official as of yet. As I said before, the Wings are now devoted to being the number 2 wild card. But the Wings have a playoff streak on the line here. They've been to the playoffs every year since 1991. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. A quarter century of consistent playoff hockey, and they only had a Philly by 2 points. Detroit's not careful. Can you imagine that? As much as I hate the Wings, can you imagine the Stanley Cup playoffs without them? that's just weird. The Stanley Cup playoffs without the Detroit Red Wings. But it could happen. They said that it's pretty close, but there's still over a month to go. So that pretty much sums up the playoff races after the first week of March. A few changes in regard, but nothing major. It's mostly still the same, especially in the Central, especially in the West. Mostly, like I said, the only thing that's changed is Colorado is now out of a playoff position, but that will most likely change within the next week or so. And so the races will be absolutely stunning to say the least. And they'll continue to get really intense as the month of March goes by. It's still early in the month. It's still early in the month. The first week's gone, but it's gonna be one hell of a ride. It's gonna be very fun. The push for the playoffs is here, and as every puckhead knows, if you don't have a good March, you won't see April. You gotta take over in March if you want to play in April and May and beyond. So that's all for this week's video. Enjoy the playoff races. I know I will. I always do every year. And until next week, my fellow puckheads.